This is how rapidly and brightly the pilot Anton Grigorov would rise into the world of racing. Just a while back, he overcame his first kilometers on the sand, and now on the list of his covered routes are some of the most tricky deserts in the world: the Sahara, WITHRALLY, and the Atacama Desert. Not too long ago, his name was unknown among racers, and today they take presentation of the World Rally together with such titled sportsmen as Jean-Louis Lacher. Only 3 years ago, Anton Grigorov tried racing for the first time in his life. He stepped down on the throttle and set off for a big trip in the world of rally raid. In a period of just 3 months, the novice pilot achieved incredible things. The race car driven by Anton started and finished at some of the most prestigious competitions. These were the World Cup Series, the rally raids such as the Silk Road, and of course the famous Dakar. My goal is to reach the finish. I don't work it out specifically. I simply reach the finish line and I enjoy it. I get a real kick out of it. Anton Grigorov could talk about racing for hours. He keeps in his mind every kilometer of the covered distance. But answering the question, what finished podium have you been dreaming about the most? The racer replies without hesitation, the Dakar podium. These words are the memoirs of the pilot, the races, and the Dakar. The notes of the memoirs began to appear during the beginning of the competitions. But the text continues to fill with new thoughts and details about how it was. January 2014, South America. There's a matter of hours before the start of the legendary marathon, the Dakar. The numbers testify to the scale of the event. 2 weeks of battle, more than 5,000 kilometers across the country from Argentina to Chile. 720 participants among them.
Anton Grigorov! Russia!
The co-pilot, Maris Sokans, and his team, VEB Racing. Soon there will be a fight. It will be interesting. My goal is to be at the finish line as usual, preferably in the first half of those cars that remain on the track. Right here, the whole palette of emotions is felt in the air at the Argentinian city of Rosario. From the excitement on the eve of battle to the hope of returning in triumph from the action scene. However, our adventures have met with failures already at the first stage. Winding routes, sharp stones, thick dust. Oh, Argentina cannot be called a welcoming country. The rear semi-axle of our car was broken. I thought that I was one of the last competitors who reached the finish line, but only 80 cars were there. And where were the rest of the teams? Shots made by the audience on their phones speak volumes. There are 3 incidents at once at the short distance of this special stage. 3 overturns have happened in under a minute. This episode is only from one route point. How many extreme moments stay off screen? But thanks to the videos of the motorsport fans, it is possible to complete the current picture with the colorful shots of the battle. At one time, Anton Grigorov was also among the audience, greeting race crews on special stages and triumphant podiums. He always observed the battle sideways, and he always wanted, that is, to be at the front, in the battle. And now Anton has the chance to find himself behind the wheel of a sports car. He will never forget his first podium in his life. I was in the sport car for the first time. For the first time, I picked up the podium. How I was shaking at that moment. It was so hot. I was dripping wet. I was so agitated. The pilot Grigorov made a glamorous debut on Red Square. It was the Silk Road race which started at the walls of the Kremlin and rushed to the Black Sea, to Sochi. Later in his notes, the novice driver would write down, "I have looked at the podium a dozen times, and now I have looked from it. It was a single moment, but it made impressions for the whole novel." On a side note, Anton Grigorov started writing travel notes at the debut of his first race. Experienced sportsmen say that getting into the world of rally raids, you find yourself in another dimension. The difficulties make you look at life under a new angle. And Anton Grigorov wanted to share his discoveries. An economist by profession, he began to write interesting stories, and there were a lot of them during the Silk Road race. There was an adventure story every day. Take, for example, the first special stage.
Прошел дождик недавно, была жуткая грязища. Иностранцы.
It rained, there was terrible mud. Foreigners, who do not often drive along the central Russian uplands sodden with mud, did not feel very good, of course.
Конкретный. Чувствовали себя не очень, конечно.
Not only foreign drivers to keep in mind, but the black earth as well. Continuous downfall turned the dusty road into the muddy special stage, and many cars had bogged down in the fertile soil. But there were those who succeeded in getting out of the mud. After the difficulties, sportsmen hurried to take a shower, and the pilot Grigorov was fast to announce the tidings of great joy to the sports director.
Я проехал первый этап. Приехал на бивуак к Семену Семеновичу.
I've driven one stage, arrived at bivouac, came directly to Semyon Semyonovich and said, "I'm here." He says, "I see, okay, today everybody is here, and tomorrow we'll see."
Грязный.
The next day I arrived and came immediately to Semyon Semyonovich. I am dirty, wet, but immediately to him. I'm here, he says. Not bad, not bad.
Так практически каждый день я к нему подъезжал сразу.
The race has become thin. Almost every day I went to him at bivouac. It has become a tradition, either to him or to Olga Ivanovna. I am here. The phrase "I am here" sounded at the last stage of Sochi too. The clerk of the course was forced to admit that he didn't anticipate the novice pilot. Therefore, he greeted Anton as a hero with all the honors at the Finnish podium. After that, a new entry appeared in the notes of the journey. Semyon Semyonovich poured on me a half bottle of champagne. I did that thing which I'd seen 100 times on TV. I sprayed the others. At the fifth stage of the Dakar Marathon, Anton and Maris could only dream of a champagne shower. Sportsmen dreamed of a drop of cold water. The reason was the scorching sun. The temperature outside was 50 plus degrees, and in a vehicle without air conditioning, the temperature was even higher. The air was so hot as if you were sitting under a hairdryer. While driving, they gave water to the motorcyclists, weakened from the heat, but soon they needed to help themselves as the car stalled out in the sand.
Просто ехали и остановились. Соответственно, мы вылезли, еще спустили колеса. Чтобы выехать, надо было машину.
We were just driving and it stopped. As applicable, we got out. In order to go, we must raise the car. We were jacking and the tire jack couldn't retract back. 1.5 hours we were dawdling. We came whack to the wide. This shattered us in the afternoon when the heat started. We left all our forces after the 20-30 kilometers since the start. That day, I stayed on the rally courses to have a rest for the first time over all my races, because I knew soon I would get heat stroke and I was already snapped.
Скоро тепловой удар получу, потому что уже поплыл.
It is during this race that Anton recognized the true power and value of water. In the notes from the journey, he recalls, "You should try it when there is no water. Otherwise, you will never turn off the tap when shaving." On the 8th day, the caravan of technicians left Argentina and arrived to Chile. The Atacama Desert appeared on the horizon. An amazing transformation. Big trucks and off-roaders become grains of sand against the background of the majestic dunes. It is the wonderful fortitude of sportsmen to stay alone with such a dangerous rival as the Atacama Desert. my mind, the hardest thing is the conversation with yourself. When one voice says stop and another says go forwards. This is my feeling. And his feeling is get behind the wheel and go over the Dakar. The battle has begun. Once again, they received messages about cars which were stuck in the desert. However, the sand stages didn't disturb Grigorov's crew. Apparently, the skills acquired in the Dakar 2012 were useful.
Я никогда не был в песке ночью. Вот в том Дакаре.
I have never been in the sand at night. There in Dakar, I felt it good. You get a bottle of hot water out of the car and you put it in the sand. Same as the snow. The water begins to cool, about 10 degrees. The temperature is plus 40 degrees during the day, and it is cold at night. Even jackets are needed.
А ночью вот холодно, даже куртки достает.
In 2012, for the first time in the history of the Dakar, there is an electric car. Oscar EO, built by sportsmen from Latvia. The team needed a pilot who would be on board with a second crew in order to accompany this miracle invention throughout the route, and he was found.
Когда мне предложили ехать в Дакар, конечно, Дакар это меня до сих пор.
I still tremble when I remember those moments. The Dakar, me, where should I go with the team? And on board of an electric car for the first time in the history of the Dakar.
Электрическую машину еще впервые в истории Дакара.
It was like a dream, but there's no time to sleep at the marathon. Crews returned from the special stage 30 minutes before starting the next one. But they moved on, seeing sunrises and sunsets behind the wheel. We can imagine how difficult it was when we read the next lines. We stand at the top of the giant dune somewhere in the Atacama Desert. Beyond was the ocean, so quiet and surgeless. Then a big blood-red sun descends after all. In 3 minutes, the sun will disappear. It will continue its journey to another continent, where the winter and the home are. I look at the sun and think about my family, and I feel sad. And instead of saying, well, what am I doing here? I say, oh Lord, it's so beautiful. You should know that somebody is waiting for you and you must go back. If you have no anchor, you will never come back. Anton Grigorov has an anchor. It's his family, and it's easy to understand that there is a racer in this family, even throughout the children's talk. There is no need to explain to his daughter and son what the power steering or crankshaft is. They are aware of all racing incidents and, of course, their father's triumphs. However, the family members know about these incidents when the troubles are over.
Я никогда не накручиваю себе, не придумываю, как было бы, чтобы так. А не дай бог, прекрасно знаю, что на гонках происходят разные ситуации.
I'm not nervous. I think it's the best support. I don't get worked up. I don't strike out. I know that during the race there are different situations, both bad and not so bad, and I don't even ask. If he has something to tell me, he always tells me. I do not give him a hard time. I quit myself easily, because his emotional state depends on mine. I just live my quiet life and I love.
Потому что от моего состояния зависит его, соответственно, состояние. Поэтому просто спокойно живу, люблю.
Julia, like nobody else, knew the total cargo of Anton's responsibilities on his first Dakar. At sunset, she wished him a good night, and with the first rays of sun, a good day. The sun was kind of a medium between them and rendered warmth and support from one continent to another. And the team succeeded. The electric car overcame the distance and turned up the podium for the first time in history of the Dakar. The only disappointment was the engine of the race car driven by Anton, which exploded the very last day of the race. Until now, the reasons are still unknown.
Тем более, что задача на эту гонку была довести электрическую машину до финиша.
The goal of that race was to reach the finish. I wrote that down in the letter that was sent to my friends. My first goal of this race is to drive the electric car to the podium. The second one is to be beside it at the podium. And it was literally.
Второе — быть рядом с ней на подиуме, дословно. Это я потом уже понял.
It was later when I understood that the electric car is standing at the podium, and I stand beside it, without the car.
Без машины, как и написал.
At At that moment, Anton set himself a new goal: to be at the podium finish line behind the wheel of the sports car at the next Dakar. And his crew raced confidently to the target, while the other teams, including the stars of motorsport, dropped out of the battle. The Cam AZ of Eric Mardiv has turned at the bottleneck. The leader of the automotive offset, Nasser Al-Attiyah, has missed a chance to win due to a navigational error. And the famous Matador has ditched his car. Spanish driver Carlos Sainz left the race on board of an ambulance helicopter. The crew of Grigorov reached the finish line safe and unharmed, setting the record of the marathon. There was not one shortened tire during the race. By comparison, 11-time Dakar winner Stefan Peter Hansel had 6 damaged tires at one special stage. This fragment of the interview was made just after the last special stage. I thought I could restrain my emotions, but there at the finish podium, I had a rough, masculine tear of joy. Lassitude takes second billing. My dream come true. The long-awaited moment arrived. The car, co-pilot, and the pilot are at the finish podium, exactly as Anton has dreamed. After the Dakar race, the album of novels was completed with new stories, and the collection of rewards was enlarged with a new trophy, which you can often see in the hands of his son. What medal? This one? How do you know that it's in my pocket? It was the first medalette of the year 2014. He brought it home, and we were very glad. The fact that the children have his father's name, Grigorov, is seen at once. Each of them has a racing car, though still toy-like. And in the future, they wish to take the place of the co-pilot beside their father in the sports car. Each of them have strong arguments about their affinity with their father. I think it's the courage. I'm not so brave as my father, but I am still brave. And accomplishments. These are essentially 2 main points in which we are similar. I like races. I love sitting in a car and drifting with my father for a while. Anton tries to spend his spare time within the arms of his family. After all, he knows he will soon be hitting the road again. Julia also guesses it. In one of the notes, Anton wrote down, "Sometimes on the way to the finish line, one thought comes to me. Why do I need all these difficulties?" But as soon as the competition is over, I wonder, what race will I go to next? Indeed, the path of the podium is the route of your dream.